Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a Patreon, Ko-Fi and crypto link in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and X. Now we are joined by Neil and a whole bunch of people in Discord, so welcome one and all.
Time for a union meeting. Time for a union meeting.
Good afternoon.
This is pathetic.
Good morning.
What's pathetic?
I'm the only one here on the panel?
There's absolutely no obligation to anybody to be on the panel, Neil. So when you say have a union meeting, we aren't unionised.
Oh, we're unionized, and I'm the delegate, and there will be a meeting today. You don't have to be
You
there,
say
boss.
so. From the person who produces the show, there's no obligation for anybody to be here. If we started the show and there was no one here, which has happened, I'd just carry on as normal. The show must go on. Speaking of shows going on for 5 hours, shout out to who was it that gave me that super chat? I can't actually read it. Michael Jones, thank you very much indeed. So yesterday's Uncut After show was brilliant. Well, thank you very much. We were just giving props to Witsit for being an absolutely outstanding moderator. One of the rare occasions where you're trying to make a point, your opponent's trying to hijack the point and just basically take the discussion off the rails so they don't have to address it. Witsit, like a shining, beaming angel, stepped in, reiterated the point and pointed out that the opponent hadn't addressed it. You're like, I can feel all of the tension seeping into my chair as Witsit did that. It was epic. So thank you, Witsit. Very much appreciated.
He actually did it a couple of times.
He did.
And I was very, very proud of him. When that kid's like that, let me tell you something. He'll tear you apart.
That kid.
There's no question about it.
Hasn't he got 2 kids? That kid.
I call him a kid because he's younger than me. That's all. I'm 59. So, Witsit, I liked him when I first seen him. His debating, he was great. And then he went off on this ether tangent, and I can't get behind it because it can't be validated. That's my only issue. When he's and the fact that he's constantly debunking the globe when we don't have to no more. But I think he's getting on board.
Maybe. I mean, Witz is his own man. He can do his own thing. And yeah, I'm sure occasionally our cross paths will cause a bit of antagonistic behaviour between our parties because there's things that we disagree with. But moving forward, who cares? We've got a silver bullet. Again, in the pre-show we were comparing, or I was suggesting that a year from now we should compare. Hold on, just a loud bang. Can you keep the conversation going a second? I've just heard a loud bang outside my door.
Yeah, I wanted to say something else too. As we're talking about that, he came in at the right time and backed Nathan up, and I like that because it shows that no matter what, the argument counts. And Nathan has a good one because it's reality, and Witsit shut it down, backed him up, reiterated the point at least 3 times. And he's got a way of breaking things down that very, very does it very well. That's all I could say.
I thought it was a pop
keep it up.
fuse. It was my eldest daughter sitting on a bag of chips, as you would call them, or crisps, as we would call them, and it just went pop. You know, when you hear that sound, if you're familiar with electrical things going bang, they normally make a kind of popping sound. That's what it sounded like to me. And it's like, no, I've just sat on this bag of crisps. Fine.
That's how we open our chips up in America. We pop them.
Oh, we don't do that here. Anyway. Yeah, so check out yesterday's show. If you remember, you can see that now. I did scan through it. It was a very long show, so I didn't get a chance to listen to the entirety, but I skipped through to various bits that I knew were of significance and listened to them back. And yeah, it was a good show. Much obliged. That would be to Earth Awakening server for having us. Thank you very much indeed. I've agreed that I will contact you via one of the moderating team. That would be most likely Righteous Force or Be With a Buzz, if we're going to pop our way by in future, so we're not just dropping by unexpectedly. As a novice with Discord, again discussed in the pre-show, I can only ask forgiveness rather than permission when it comes to these things. But in the future, my moderating team have told me off effectively. I've been reprimanded by Righteous Force in terms of my disgusting behaviour, so we will contact you in advance. Geo, that is. Anyway, that's an aside that maybe shouldn't be in a live show, but there we go. Thanks, Geo and Earth Awakening server. Check them out. Any other thanks I need to offer? Any props to any of the participants from yesterday, Neil, that you can remember or of note?
No, I just wanted to give a shout out to Earth Awakenings. They stepped back and they pretty much handed it to you, and that you when it was like it was your show. So I like when they do things like that.
Yeah, it couldn't be more hospitable, right? Yeah, absolutely, couldn't agree more. That was Geo. He was like, this has now become, what's yours is mine. You can operate this server as you see fit if you want to kick people out, etc. And I was like, I don't actually know how to.
Yeah, because it could be like a pride thing can get in the way, and I'm glad that it did it. It just stepped back, and yeah, here you go. Keep it going. That's the impression I got. So I was glad.
What did they used to call us? Like reality deniers or something to that effect back in the day? Was it reality deniers? I can't remember what we used to get called as flat earthers, but one of the
science deniers.
Science deniers is one of them, but it was more like physics deniers or physical reality deniers or something like that. Somebody will mention it in the chat. I can't remember what it was. Going back 5 or 6 years, there was a certain type of denial of reality that we were accused of being as a group by stereotype. That you just want to deny reality was the sentiment, right? And on that after show yesterday, a recurring theme, not just propped up by Bev, I might add, is that people who come across the arguments that we propose in terms of measurements of Earth as a flat plane are both acknowledged, because that's how it's actually done, and then denied to be the ground. That would be the ground that you're navigating, the ground that you're building on, the ground that you're mapping, charting, measuring angles with respect to the ground, right? That you're clearly defining and describing and detailing and debating about in a discussion about the nature of the Earth, the ground. The moment it comes to us getting our opponents to concede that they are indeed measuring Earth flat by way of how it's actually measured, they deny that it's the ground. Well, it's not the ground. When we get to the awful truth that we're measuring Earth flat. And I find that quite amusing. I just thought I'd drop that in. And now I'm on my own, so I'm going to be completely dependent on the Discord server because Neil's now buggered off. So, mush, if you're still there, chatting away with me. If not, we're going to be covering a video shortly because there's literally no one. Oh, there we go. Problem solved.
Phone drives me crazy.
Yeah,
I keep
too.
hanging up.
Neil's
hanging up
stepping out
instead
of
of
the
pressing
car,
the
right?
mute button. Okie dokie. Right, we have actually got a video to cover today. So Divergent Droid dropped this in and said it was recommended by an FED member, which is the... Let's give it the title with it on screen. Let's just bring it up. This is called... Wow, it's a big old title. The History of the Flat Earth Myth, in all capitals. Why do people think the Earth is flat? Question mark. Flat Earthers debate. And this was from History Calling channel. So hopefully if you're a regular watcher, you know the routine. I'm going to stick the link to History Calling channel in the live stream chat right now and invite you all. Is it already there by Divergent Droid? Maybe. He's normally way ahead of me. And it's him that recommended it. So yeah, go and let this videographer know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me, and just allude to the fact that we are covering their video in response, so that hopefully they would do the same for us if they were to respond to our critique, let's call it, of whatever it is they have to say. I'm in no doubt that we'll be critiquing things here on this video as it's specifically about us. So let them know so that they could potentially put a link to my video in theirs if they were to ever do a response. So this is a fairly recent video. It's about a week old. And yeah, check it out by way of comment left on their video, letting them know that I sent you. At Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me, so I'll carry on doing this call to action for a couple more seconds just to get a few people from the live chat to actually disappear along. There's like 60 odd people watching live right now, so hopefully a few of you will actually go and do this while I'm calling you to action. But yeah, so in summary, the history of the flat earth myth. Why do people think the earth is flat? Flat earthers debate is the name of the video. And yeah, please let them know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. It'd be nice to get a link to our video from one of these videographers. We'll see how it goes. I haven't actually sound checked this, so I should really do that first.
Here's some knowledge of the ancients this week on History Calling as I look at the history of the flat earth myth. I'll be asking, did Europeans
Flat earth myth. Okay. Why would you phrase it that way?
in the past really think that the earth was flat, or have
That's how it's measured. So in terms of people's thoughts on the matter, they're irrelevant when we're actually mapping and charting and navigating and building on it flat. That's how it's dealt with. But what you will now focus on, I can tell within 12 seconds of the video, is how people's thoughts and feelings relate to this subject matter as a subject matter rather than an empirical measurement.
many, and now most human beings, accepted that the world is round for millennia, even
Oh, really? So when we have songs about Christopher Columbus being laughed at because he thought the world was round, when everybody around him thought it was flat, and the great revelation that is the notion of it being a sphere by way of spherical inference about 300 years ago is actually people thinking that the Earth was a sphere for millennia. No, that's part of the bullshit narrative that's been inserted that gives us the notion that the Greeks thought it was a sphere. Well, no, it was mapped and charted and measured flat throughout that entire period.
before Christopher Columbus famously sailed to North America in 1492.
And why is that of note? Because he's noting it's a sphere where everyone thought it was flat, but yet they all thought it was flat for millennia. This is a contradiction in terms.
And didn't fall off the edge of the planet. I'll share
Why would anybody be thinking that they were going to fall off an edge that's inferred by a straw man reification that you impose on flat earthers by stereotype if they all thought for millennia it was a sphere? Why would he have any notion of a straw man nonsense idea that you're now perpetuating, we say when we don't, of an edge, if he knew also for millennia that it was a sphere? He'd have no concept of an edge, would he? But yet here we are with Christopher Columbus not finding the edge that they wouldn't be thinking about if they knew for millennia. Just a complete contradiction in terms. How can they have known for millennia and then have Christopher Columbus go out and go, I wonder if I'll fall off an edge? Why would he be thinking that? It doesn't make sense. Yeah, the whole story doesn't make sense because it's been inserted into history that doesn't exist, with characters that don't exist.
quotes from classical and medieval writers with you and look at some very old maps, globes, coins, and paintings.
Old maps that are globe-shaped. I'm going to challenge you to actually provide any globe-shaped maps. They're all flat. They're all dealing with the stars and how they operate with angles measured off the flat baseline that we inhabit. So if you're going to look at maps, they're all charted using flat Earth measurements of the stars.
To demonstrate what they thought about the shape of our home.
Shape? No. The topography they might have been measuring for, elevation changes. But in terms of navigation and maps, everything's all referenced as flat, always. There is no Earth curvature. There's also no edge. There's just a territory that gets ever expanded until about 300 years ago where they started telling us it's a globe. Because he didn't find an edge? Why would he think they'd find an edge? To that period in time, all they'd done is gone further out, away from Polaris, and found, quote, new worlds. So what, Columbus thinks, based on the fact that up until now we just keep going out and finding these new worlds, I think I'm going to find an edge. Shocking, I don't. It's just a bullshit story. It's completely made up and inserted into a history that didn't exist. And it also contradicts the, parallel narrative that we already knew it was spherical for millennia.
And how they reached their conclusions. I'll also explain where and why the popular notion that our medieval ancestors thought the world was flat originated.
Who cares what they thought? We can easily demonstrate how it's charted, mapped, navigated, and built on flat. The measurements prove it's flat, because it is flat, and that's how it's dealt with. But we're going to focus on the thoughts of the ancient people and contrast them with the thoughts of people now. Who cares what people think? We can show the measurements of it being flat.
And spoiler alert, it's a much more recent idea than you might think, and
What idea? The globe idea?
has a lot to do with the guy who wrote Sleepy Hollow.
What? You're going to attribute Flat Earth to an author? What? Clearly a complete science ignoramus. The history of Flat Earth theory. Theory, you say? Well, makes it sound like it's almost scientific that you're trying to debunk. Theory, what, based on the physical and natural world and things that occur within it that we want to know the cause of. And after experimentation to figure out the cause, we can develop a theory. Yet no one's proposing Flat Earth theory. It's not in a scientific genre. Right? We're talking about measurements. I mean, we're not going to get into that either, but you've positioned this such that you don't have to attack any of the measurements of Earth. Instead, you're going to attack how people think and feel about it.
Cruise around the internet for a few minutes looking.
Go and get a book on navigation. If you want to prove Earth's flat, go and figure out how it's been charted, mapped, and is still to this day navigated. And you will very quickly find that Earth is flat, because that is precisely how it is dealt with. Right up to the very top of the tree at NASA. They deal with Earth as flat. What's that you say, history lady? We should go to the comments in the internet, should we? That should be our starting point. We're talking about whether or not Earth's flat. Surely the first starting point should be, how's it measured? That should be our starting point, shouldn't it? Surely it's a category error that you're now engaging yourself in.
Up what medieval people thought
Nathan.
of
Yes.
This is the point. They constantly accuse us of just getting all our information from the internet, and they use the internet for their information.
Shout out to Billy Philly 22. He says, I dropped these guys a comment, hopefully saying at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me, so that hopefully they respond. And hopefully they put a link to my video, Billy Philly. But thank you for doing that. Hey, Chocolate, how's it going?
Good morning, everyone.
the shape of the world, and you'll soon stumble across quotes like these, perpetuating the misnomer that most Europeans thought it was flat until Columbus discovered America.
Who cares? How was he getting around? Oh, he was getting around on the already charted and already positioned on a flat map, flat Earth that was measured flat with the stars and the angles that could only be measured flat if Earth was flat. That system that he was using to get his way around the world. Yeah, that was all flat. And if he got lost, he could find his way back home by way of a system of navigation that would infer that Earth's being utilised as a flat plane because it is. So, who cares what people thought? It means nothing.
Yeah, but not just that, Nathan. Followers, other people who follow the same footstep, who follow the same path to go to Americas after Columbus, had to use the same navigating system with elevation angles to the sun and the sun's position and Polaris. Using the stars once more.
Shout out to Godzilla37 for the super chat. It says, like all my comrades, I got here by reading Sleepy Hollow. Leave a like and tell him Sleepy Hollow sent me. End quote. Yeah, thank you for the super chat, Godzilla.
So did Sleepy Hollow
even
make
came-
you a flat earther? Sorry, does Sleepy Hollow make you a flat earther, or does it make you a glober? I got confused.
I got confused too. It's just not very descriptive with who they are, but obviously from our perspective, they and conspiratorial discussions could only revolve around the people that have alluded to it being a sphere when it's measured flat. That's the conspiracy. But obviously in her brain, she thinks that we're the conspiracy and it's come from the author of Sleepy Hollow. Hence your confusion.
Came across this children's rhyme, which I'd never heard before, but that might be because we didn't do Spanish or American history in my primary school. It reads, in 1492, Columbus sailed the ocean blue. He took 3 ships with him too, and called aboard his faithful crew. Mighty strong and brave was he, as he sailed across the open sea. Some people still thought the world was flat. Can you even imagine that?
So this sounds like a propaganda poem. Propagandizing the children with a poem into, can you believe that people thought the stupidity that we're saying the opposite of? Look how stupid those people are. It's propaganda. Directly aimed at children. That's what this is.
It's a globe.
Okay.
She also said navigating across.
Yeah. Go on, Chocolate.
No, I was just saying it's a globy nursery rhyme. It's so cute. Oh.
Now, this poem isn't entirely wrong. Some people did still think the world was flat.
Why? You've told your audience in your opener that we have known for millennia, yet people still thought it was flat? How could that be the case? Surely nobody thought it until Sleepy Hollow.
As do some people today, but it's insinuating that this was a commonly held belief.
Nobody cares about what people believe when you're about to fold out a flat map. I wonder why this map's flat and unequivocally not globe-shaped. Yeah, because that's how it's functionally operating.
In actual fact, the idea that those living in Europe before the mid-1490s mostly thought the world was a disc isn't generally true.
Or why are you presenting a flat map?
The belief, based on observable phenomena that it is
Or this map.
spherical, has been around for millennia.
Or mapping the territory completely flat as is depicted on this map that you're showing was understood because you roll out a map flat, and nobody in the history of charting or mapping any territory ever has rolled it out onto a ball. Ever. So when you throw up a flat map and then say, yeah, people kind of did still think that there was a flat earth beneath their feet with a belief, and will focus on their thoughts and feelings about that belief that they held, while showing a map that's a practical tool that requires the surface to be flat so that it works with the stars. But you're going to focus on what are they actually for millennia thought it was ball-shaped, but yet there's a few people who looked at maps and went, well, the map's flat, and I'm using elevation angles that could only be on a flat surface. But obviously that's me believing that my measurements and dealings of the ground as flat are a belief in it being flat. Stupid me, believing it's flat when I measure it that way.
And plenty of people living in
So when they were on the, I was saying, so when Christopher Columbus was on these ships with his crew, I think it was the Nina, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria. Did all three of them have a globe on it? And did they use that globe when they were traveling, or did they use flat maps?
Now, they rolled out the chart on the table, and as they rolled it out flat and tried to figure out where they were heading, they'd turn to each other and go, you know, some people think the world's flat. Bloody idiots. Anyway, let's get back to this flat map on this flat table and figure out where we are on the world. Because it's globe-shaped.
But I thought we knew for millennia that it wasn't.
We knew
How does it keep coming out of both sides of their mouth? Like in 1 second, we've known for millennia we live on a magical spinning water ball, and then the next second it's like a few hundred years ago people were still thinking it's flat. Which one is it?
Or we could just take both statements to be true. So even though, according to you, everyone knew it was a ball for millennia people have persisted in their flat earth belief again, according to you. See, as far as beliefs and thoughts go, that's a pretty persistent thought to be in opposition to what you claim to be true. Why would they need to have opposed it for millennia? That seems a bit crazy. Surely you'd just have one silver bullet that would shut them all up forever, but yet they've been contesting it for millennia, because right up until the time of Columbus, there's still people there, after they knew millennia earlier that it was a globe, they were still contesting it. Surely after millennia you'd have one silver bullet to prove it was a globe. No, you don't, do you? And it's all measured and mapped flat. So that's not a good start for you and your conspiracy of a globe now, is it?
Ancient and medieval periods.
Go on, Chocolate.
No, I was just saying, yeah, you would think so. You would think you would have something after a whole millennia. That sounds like a lot of minutes, a lot of hours, days, months.
And a lot of pushback.
Crazy.
a lot of proactive pushback against your claim it's a globe for millennia, and you haven't got one silver bullet that's been able to shut people up in millennia, because they still think it's flat to this day, according to you, with your claim it's just a belief, when your flat map says otherwise. You know what I mean?
It's knew and accepted this theory.
It's not theory, you're in a category error.
I can't list all the evidence here for you for reasons of time.
Oh, really? I'll do a pretty bang-up job of proving Earth's flat with one piece of evidence. That's celestial navigation. As you've got a globe on screen and have just shown us a flat map. The way that the Earth has been charted and navigated is with these lines that you've got on this globe. Those lines, the longitude and latitude lines, have been derived from flat Earth elevation angle measurements of the Sun and Polaris to give you that grid, measured off a flat plane, to then wrap it around this globe. The lines on this globe prove Earth's measured flat, because without Earth being measured flat, you wouldn't have these lines on this globe. How do those lines then get put back onto a flat map from the globe? Well, the Mercator projection. Unlike the map she had up earlier, I don't know what that map was, I'm unfamiliar with maps. Not that I need to be familiar when I know how they function in terms of how the stars are used, with angles measured to them. Or the sun, as we discussed yesterday in the case of latitude. But all of these lines are derivations of measurements off a flat Earth to give you your globe inference. But when you're actually charting, mapping, and navigating your way around the ground, you're using angle measurements with respect to how it's charted. That's flat. That's how it's done. That's how it's measured. There's my proof. There's my evidence. Not that I need any evidence. That's how it's done. Everybody on every side of this discussion accepts that Earth is measured flat, because it is. There's my proof. There's my silver bullet.
Yeah, but the horizontal baseline does not mean the ground. They're not talking about the ground, Nathan.
When we describe a horizontal plane of reference, and my opponent yesterday told me that it's not the ground, I asked him to define what the word reference was, and he said something that you'd physically measure. So I said it's the horizontal plane that we physically measure that you say isn't the ground when we're navigating the ground. Yeah, they're idiots who are in denial because it contradicts their Fundy globe belief. Their belief trumps all proof and evidence to the point where when you're navigating the ground and measuring the ground, and that's flat, your opponent will tell you it's not the ground. That's the situation we're in.
Yeah, that guy snatched his own wig off with that one. That was terrible.
But I'll give you a few examples which cover over 1,000 years of history to make my point, and show you how people...
Now, let's just see what she's got up her proverbial sleeve here. This should be interesting.
People of the past worked out the shape of the world long before the dawn of the space age.
Okay, that's baseless assertion. Let's see what we've got to back it.
Aristotle noted in his work about the heavens, written in around 350 BC, that there was some dispute about whether the planet was round or flat, but pointed out that the Earth must be spherical because how else would eclipses of the moon show segments shaped as we see them?
So we're going to beg the question that an eclipse, which I've observed with my own eyes turning red, which is a statement of such... I'm typically not great with red, but for me to note that the moon has turned red during a lunar eclipse takes all doubt away from my mind whatsoever that there's a shadow being cast on it. But by automatic fiat and begging the question assumption of orbital motion, you would assume that if Earth is automatically assumed to be a sphere in an assumed orbital motion, its sphericity would cause the moon to turn red. I mean, you can call that a shadow if you like. No, that's called a begging the question fallacy. It's circular reasoning. Earth must be a sphere because if Earth is a sphere, it as a sphere would cast a shadow / turns red, whatever you want to call it. No, this is garbage. This doesn't prove anything.
As it is, the shapes which the moon itself each month shows are of every kind, straight...
Well, that's not an eclipse. You're talking about moon phases. Oh, she's completely idiotic and doesn't know the difference. Wow.
Gibbous and concave, but in eclipses the outline is always curved, and since it is the interposition of the Earth that makes...
So if I assume Earth is a sphere casting a shadow, then it matches with my parallel that I infer is because Earth is a sphere making a shadow. It's called circular reasoning.
The eclipse, the form of this line will be caused by the form of the Earth's surface.
And why does it go red? Is that because Earth's surface heats it up? I mean, what the hell? It makes absolutely no sense. It's not a shadow. But if you beg the question that Earth's a sphere and Earth's going to be causing shadows on other elliptically moving motions in the sky based on moon orbits, then it's a shadow that turns red. Yeah, that's crap. Circular reasoning. Shout out to Billy Philly. She's a textbook knowledge only. I don't think she's coming. Shout out to Neil, by the way. Fist bump. Thank you, Billy Philly.
Which is therefore spherical. Again, our observations of the stars make it evident not only that the Earth is circular, but also that it is a circle of no great size.
Now we got this word circular. So we observe the stars and Earth is circular. Where's the connection? So far, that's a complete non sequitur. We observe the stars, therefore surface is circular. This is going a bit sideways.
For quite a small change of position to south or north causes a manifest alteration of the horizon.
What, the position when establishing a horizontal plane of reference to measure the angular difference in degrees of these stars? You're going to need a flat Earth for this.
There is much change, I mean, in the stars which are overhead, and the stars seen are different as one moves northward or southward.
So the recession, the degree with respect to the horizon, changes as you move north or south. Yeah, that's a statement of truth. What that's called is a half affirming the consequent formal logical fallacy, because she hasn't given the other half of the fallacy. She's just said, if P, then Q. Okay? If we move north, we see the stars change. Yeah? Okay. Yeah, I'll accept that. Therefore, Earth's a sphere. Whoa, 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 whoa! What? Yeah, but we do see the stars change as we go south. Therefore, Earth's a sphere. No, it's completely non sequitur to show me lights changing as I move towards the horizon, nay, detail their angular differences with respect to a horizontal baseline when describing it with respect to the horizon, exactly as you did. You will require a flat Earth to describe those differences. That's how they're described. But you somehow think that the non sequitur of moving towards the horizon and seeing stars change means we're on a sphere. Absolutely not. Half of an affirming the consequent formal logical fallacy.
Another big leap forward came when the Greek polymath...
Go ahead.
She's already laid out the fallacy, though. Before starting this, what did she say? That she was basically going to give a whole list of things that prove that we're on a sphere, right? So she's already laid out the Q, therefore P. So each one of these it can be a self-contained if Q, therefore, or if P, therefore Q.
Oh, that's a beautiful catch. That's excellent. What Chocolate's pointing out is, by summary in the first part of the video, she's summarised the end of the statement, therefore Earth is a sphere. Therefore, when she affirms the consequence, she doesn't have to implicitly state it as a formal logical fallacy. She can get away with only stating the first half of it. So in this instance, if Earth's a sphere, then we will observe a difference in the stars as we move from north to south or south to north. We do observe a difference when travelling from north to south or south to north in the stars. Therefore, Earth's a sphere. But she's already inserted her conclusion that these are all steps in terms of evidence that she holds to be true for proving Earth is a sphere. Ergo, she can get away with only declaring half of the fallacy. Well done, Chocolate. I didn't spot that.
A chocolate shop boy.
He is.
Eratosthenes, who lived between about 276 and 194 BC, calculated the circumference of the Earth to
using flat Earth angle measurements.
a surprisingly accurate degree.
A degree of accuracy in terms of his angle measurements off a flat baseline. Yeah, it's going to need a flat Earth for these angles. Eratosthenes measured Earth flat.
As if that wasn't clever enough, he was
Sorry, what wasn't clever enough? You didn't detail a single smegging thing that he did. I pointed out that he's taking angle measurements and pointed out that it proves a flat Earth, and you just told us how clever he is.
also able to produce this map of the known world, which is
Right, what did he do that was clever again, love? History calling. You've just name-dropped him and told us how clever he is, and you didn't detail a single thing he did, and then he produced this map, which is not globe-shaped. It's on a grid!
unexpectedly good when you consider when it was created.
It's flat.
You can clearly see the shape of Western Europe, including the boot of Italy and
Where do we see the globe edge horizon on this map? Where do we see a sphere Earth radial value on this map? Where do we see Earth curve on this map?
the presence of Britain and Ireland. By the start,
What the hell? Moving on? Excuse me, aren't you supposed to be pointing out how it was so bloody obvious for millennia that we all knew we were on a sphere with constant references to maps that are flat, and then showing us a globe that has got flat Earth, longitude and latitude plotted onto it? Those lines that were on your globe, the only thing that you've inferred globeness with so far, had flat Earth measurements on it.
of the 1st century AD, the Greek author Strabo, who was born in modern-day Turkey and died
Anyone familiar with Strabo? This is a new one on everyone? Exciting.
in about the year 23, was recording that knowledge of the Earth's shape was now commonplace amongst the educated, saying, "Now what we are taught by the physicists is as follows. The universe and the heavens are sphere-shaped. The tendency of the bodies that have weight is
Sorry, the universe and the heavens are sphere-shaped. So that would be like taking perspective measurements of the angular relationships of the stars, giving you an inference of a spherical disposition when measured off a flat plane. Because that's precisely what he said. He didn't say the ground. Universe and heavens. Now, even by your own estimation on a globe, that's the sky that he's saying is spherical. And we can infer it based on the celestial sphere model on a flat plane, which is where all of your globe inference comes from. Flat plane measurements of angles to the star, giving you a perspective inference that looks like a dome over you for north and south. Oh, you'll love this word. Hemisphere. Of the stars, not the ground. That's all flat.
towards the centre, and having taken its position about this centre in the form of a sphere,
Or is this picture, maybe it's a photograph, from, what did she say, 25 AD? Is this a picture from Jesus' time? Or is this maybe a modern day interpretation of him holding a globe?
the Earth remains homocentric with the heavens. Later
Sorry, what? Remains what centric with the heavens? What was that word?
towards the centre,
Homocentric.
and having taken its position about this centre in the form of a sphere, the Earth remains homocentric with the heavens. Later in the
Homocentric.
Yeah, I've never heard that.
Is that just a new one on me? What does that mean? Let's have a look. Homocentric. Having the same centre. Okay. Learn something new every day. So Earth and the universe have the same centre.
What is it called, Nathan?
Homocentric.
Homocentric.
Yes. So again, having the same centre when you're describing the sky and universe as being spherical, that's how we actually created the celestial sphere. But that's the sky being inferred to be spherical by way of a perspective view that you would have, polar-centric if you're doing it that way. So a polar-centric view of the world would give you a perspective view of the stars at your limitational horizon, mapped out as though it's a semicircle over your head. But that's the stars. That's what they're describing. So saying we've got a single point that Earth and stars are mapped from, yeah, I can describe a flat plane, and this is how it's done, with Polaris at its centre, with all the territory being mapped out from that central point, with the dome of the heavens, semicircular or semi-spherical, over the top of it. The stars, that is. But the plane, in order to infer any of this, would have to be utilised in order to get any of the angle measurements to describe the sky as spherical, because it isn't. Obviously not.
She's trying to mention the latitude line that you'll need to acquire from this center point that she's talking about.
Yeah, if you're talking about measuring spherically in terms of mapping, you're talking about Polaris, therefore Earth-centric, Polaris-centric, sky-centric, same point for both. Doesn't give you a spherical ground, which is what she's claiming this proves, first and foremost, it doesn't. But what has actually been done and mapped is a flat perspective view with Polaris at the beginning point of that measurement. That is to say, it's at your zenith, above your head. And then everything that comes out in concentric circles is mapped flat. That is to say, if you were to move away from Polaris, Polaris itself would drop towards the horizon. That's an angular representation of Polaris that you can measure and do, and that's how it's done, flat. So this in absolutely no way whatsoever implies or infers sphericity purely based on what he said. So what if you've got a Earth-centric position that's the same as the sky? Yeah, I can describe that, and it's how Earth's mapped with Polaris. Wowee, doesn't make Earth spherical.
Century, in around AD 77, the Roman writer Pliny the Elder said in his work entitled Natural History, "We all agree on the Earth's shape.
Who gives a crap what this dusty old fart agrees on? It's measured flat? But you're going to cite some feelings of some dusty old tosser? Who cares if he agrees that we've got unicorns? Does it matter? We agree that it's spherical. Wow, do you understand that it's measured flat? Because that's how it's been mapped and charted.
Surely we always speak of the round ball of the Earth."
Do we now, when we're measuring it and charting it and finding our way around it and discovering new worlds on it flat? I'm going to go with no.
He also noted that the ability to see less of large objects from further away and more of them as one
What, like perspective?
gets close, which proved and still proves the Earth's curvature.
Right, you having a laugh?
Wow.
So the narrative is such that perspective, which is omitted from a orthographic representation of Earth in the form of the Earth curve calculator, is actually proving Earth's curvature. So this is an embedded confession. Contrary to proving Earth's curvature, perspective is used to claim Earth curvature, but you don't call it perspective. You call it Earth curvature when it actually is perspective. So this is very, very telling, and part of the narrative that I did not know until now. So as much as I'm critical, history calling, you're going to get props.
Wait, hold on. You mean the thing that we were told, we were made fun of for believing, for saying exists in reality, perspective? The thing that we were told literally flat earthers made that up. That thing is now what's claimed to be proof of the globe?
Yeah, initially.
Wow, times have changed.
But it's written way back in the history that is obviously completely fabricated. Clearly, this is part of a modern day narrative that's only existed for the last 300 years, where someone claimed to be much older than that is stating that we have curvature as a result of perspective. No, we have perspective and you called it Earth curve.
They have no idea what orthographic view means. It goes over their heads.
No, the claim of Earth curvature comes in an orthographic format. That is to say, you see the side of your own head and the target at the same time, and the ground is curved, and perspective is completely omitted from the calculator, because it is a differential calculation that gives you the point of optical resolution loss. And that calculation, true and accurate, though it may or may not be depending on the circumstances or weather, is then claimed to be Earth curve. In reality, the Earth curve calculator's a perspective calculator. Tells you when you're going to lose the point of resolution based on height. That's all it does. But you can call it Earth curve in the title and then dupe everyone into thinking the perspective is actually Earth curve, when there is no perspective when looking side on in an orthographic view. That's not how the calculator works. It completely hijacks perspective. We've even given it a title, love. History calling. Begging the question, proof of nothing, perspective hijacking Earth curve calculator. Now, after 10 years of research into this subject, I can assure you with your cursory glance over the thoughts and feelings of men that have been written into this narrative, bears no credence in terms of proving Earth's flat or spherical, because it's measured flat. That's all that matters. That's how it was mapped in every one of your examples. That's how the territories were discovered. That's how it was charted. And it's how it's built on.
Saying that this explains why...
I just want to reiterate how out the gate, because I know there might be a lot of people in this now that weren't in this maybe 6-7 years ago. But literally what we were told when we were trying to argue about perspective being a thing in reality that everybody experiences is that we're making that up. Perspective doesn't exist. It's something that only exists in art class, and flat earthers are ridiculous for even talking about it. That's literally some of the things that we were told when we first started out here.
Yeah, when we first started pointing out that there is no perspective in Earth curve mathematics, and that the only reason things can disappear into the distances is if Earth curve gets in the way of them. That's the only cause of things disappearing. Therefore, you have no angular size relationships in Earth curve mathematics. It's purely a geometric assertion that a physical limitation in orthographic view blocks your view, and then the calculations that actually take place work out the difference between height of eye versus surface level, flat, to say where an inferred point below surface level, Earth curve, will be representing a point of resolution loss in the distance when comparing a horizontal horizon across your field of view with a single point marked with an X and labelled horizon in begging the question, proof of nothing, perspective hijacking Earth curve mathematics.
Why the land is not visible from the deck of a ship when in sight from the masthead, and why, as a vessel passes far into the distance, if some shining object is tied to the top of the mast, it appears slowly to sink, and finally it is hidden from sight.
If the Earth was a sphere with a radius of 3959 miles, then every distance to that physical geometric limitation to your view called Earth curve could be no more than 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet, based on her claim. The distance to the horizon in the Black Swan, as we have fondly named it, is beyond the physical geometric limitations of a physical Earth curve hill getting in the way of things like oil rigs, which would be at 1.2 miles as per a 1 foot observer height in the observation. The distance to horizon in that image, not at 1 mile, not at 5 miles, but beyond oil rigs at 10 miles, debunks the assertion that we have a physical hill based on geometry of a sphere Earth blocking our view of anything. The horizon's not a hill, it was debunked in 2020.
This sentiment was echoed in the 2nd century by Claudius Ptolemy, who came from the Egyptian city of Alexandria, though his name suggests Greek descent. He wrote in his Almagest that,
"I think Earth's a sphere, and we all agree."
Whenever we sail towards mountains or any high places, from whatever angle, in whatever direction...
Whatever angle? See, when you're measuring angles of heights of mountains, you're going to need a flat plane for it. Al-Biruni of a similar time period is claimed to have measured the height of a mountain to derive the differential that's now used in the begging the question, proof of nothing, perspective hijacking Earth curve calculator to infer that he can derive a geometric radial value for a sphere Earth based on a height of a mountain taken with an angle or two off a flat plane, to then go up it and use mathematics for a differential calculation to the horizon at surface level to say that you can infer, through trig, a radial value for a sphere Earth with a ground that you just measured flat, now falling away from you. So when he says angle, I say you'll need a flat Earth for it. And he will.
We see their bulk little by little increasing, as if they were arising from the sea, whereas before they seemed submerged because of the curvature of the water.
So not because of perspective. Only 3 minutes earlier you told us that hashtag shit shrinks. Yeah, we know perspective's a real thing. But now perspective isn't the reason the boat's coming back. It's because a hill is precluding our view or allowing it to recede into a position where the hill's blocking it. Yeah, that would be a physical geometric limitation to your view called Earth curve, debunked by the Black Swan in 2020. If the Earth was a sphere radius 3959 miles, then every distance to horizon measurement could be no more than 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet. Distance to horizon in the Black Swan is beyond that limitation, therefore Earth is not a sphere. We have debunked Earth curve edge geometry that hijacked perspective. But yet here you are telling us the only reason a boat comes back. What happened to perspective? Yeah, we know things get bigger as you get closer to them. Yeah, shocking. But yet now the only reason, according to this numpty, is because it's an Earth curve edge that's precluding you from seeing it.
Water's surface.
Wait, I'm sorry.
In all
I'm
cases,
confused. To the Globers that said that we never claimed to have a geometric horizon, what is she claiming right now? Exactly.
You're saying that while they know it's perspective that's Earth curve, it's just Earth curve hills getting in the way. Nothing to do with the boat getting bigger as it comes towards you. It's everything to do with the hill that's blocking your view of it, and that will be mapped out in an orthographic view that has a marked with an X labelled horizon single point that blocks your view according to a comparison made when you look out to sea and see perspective in action. I mean Earth curve getting in the way of boats, my bad.
Right.
Isn't she comparing these boats and these observations to the horizon? I mean, horizontal.
Yes. Yes, the differential
not a sphere,
calculation
then?
that we call Earth curve mathematics also requires a horizontal surface level and eye level to give you the differential to make that assertion. In other words, the flat Earth calculator that gives you resolution loss, relabeled Earth curve maths, would require a horizontal plane of reference also. That's correct.
These men were correct, and their observations of lunar eclipses, stars, boats, and
Boats, as in the begging the question proof of nothing perspective hijacking Earth curve calculator debunked by the Black Swan, and because of assumed orbital motion causing shadows. Begging the question and affirming the consequent.
They're going to need a flat plane for that as well. You're going to need an elevation angle to the sun and another one to the moon to predict that they're going to be the same elevation from the ground in order for one to obstruct the other.
Oh, you beautiful
they're going to need a flat plane for that.
Oh, you beautiful man. Why did I miss that? I love it. I love my panel. Yeah, you'll need a flat plane to derive orbital motions. You mentioned Ptolemy. How do you think they came up with orbits? Oh, that would be by measuring the differences in the angles off a flat plane. Oh, yeah, that's a big problem for orbital motion now, isn't it? So when you claim that there's an orbital motion causing a shadow that turns the moon red, that description is derived from flat Earth measurements also to give you orbits. Maybe you were unaware that orbits has its heart and origin in a flat Earth measurement. Maybe you were unaware of that when you were blarting out that it proves a sphere because of the shadows that you assume turns the moon red.
mountains may still be made today. They didn't need fancy modern technology to work out.
And yet the modern fancy technology that we use in the form of a sextant, wow, how fancy is that angle measuring device, establishes Earth and measures Earth as a horizontal plane of reference, so we can use it with the flat maps and the flat areas of equal elevation when charting positions. It's all flat, love.
That the Earth is round.
Nope.
They simply opened their eyes, took a look around,
Measured it flat, charted it flat, and discovered the world's beyond their current horizon in an area they deemed to be called outer space back then. That's what they did flat. Nothing was globe-shaped. And the thoughts, feelings, and discussions of learned men had no bearing on how Earth was being mapped and charted. Flat.
applied the most basic tenets of common sense and logic.
So we're going to use common sense and logic to figure out the shape of the Earth, in quotes, when they're mapping and charting it flat. Why would we use common sense when we can measure the thing? Got LiDAR.
She's still using angles.
Yes.
She's still using angles. It doesn't work angles on a sphere.
No, she said basic tenets of common sense and logic. There's no angles in that. And there's no inference of a measurement in that. There's just men babbling to each other about how smart they are when they infer the logic of the shape of an Earth that's being measured, charted, navigated, and discovered as flat.
And boom. They figured out thousands of years ago.
Go on, chocolate.
Sorry. It's unfortunate. I don't think she's been keeping up with the globe Earth debate. Because she said what? Just they just opened their eyes and looked around, and that proves ball. The current globe Earth debate tactic is too biggie, no curvy. So what eyes are they looking? What are they looking at with their eyes? What are they seeing? When literally in 2024 we're being told it's too big. Just checking.
Yeah, no, they don't say it's. They say of course we measure it flat, but that's because it's a really, really big ball, and we can treat it as flat when we measure it flat, like we have done when we map it and chart it and navigate it flat. We deal it like it's flat. That's because it's a really, really big ball that we measure and navigate and chart flat. Because it's perfectly reasonable to have our logic and inference and discussions amongst us old men that have been inserted into a history narrative that I have seen no primary source research for. Did she prove this guy in 23 AD existed? Did she show us some primary source research for it? I'm going to go with no, she didn't show us anything. She just repeated wiki verbatim.
So, what some twits with access to high-res photographs and footage of the...
Go on, Neil.
So, can we say that there is no horizon in a spherical or a curving surface that would be called, like you said earlier, a curve, meaning an obstruction, but not the natural limitation of our vision or our eyes? So, and the horizon would be just describing a flat surface where the edges or the limits is beyond our eye limit, and there is no obstruction, physical obstruction, like a range of mountain or buildings in the distance.
Beautifully put. Yes.
So there is no horizon in a curving surface or a ball, for example, in a globe.
Yeah, yes and no. QE's done a whole presentation on this slope-a-dope, right? There is no comporting with the definition of a horizon for a glober. Their horizon isn't a horizon as per the definition of horizon. There's no deviation in terms of what a horizon represents. The deviation would be a slope or a curve, but that doesn't meet the criteria for defining what a horizon actually is, and moreover, what it's practically applied for.
Correct.
Not
And we say
just horizontal's definition is to run parallel to the horizon.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you cannot have a horizontal sphere.
It's so biggy, it's flatty, man. We measure it flat, and it's
No, it
perfectly
doesn't
reasonable
make-
to do
no,
so because it's so big.
So you're not listening, Nathan. Listen to what he said. You can't say so biggy flatty after that statement. It don't work.
It's not the ground.
Never mind the clouds.
Never mind the ground that we're measuring and then mapping and charting and navigating and finding our way on. This measurement of the ground isn't the ground. Okay? We all clear?
The planet
it
taken
would be
from outer
inappropriate.
space still counts.
What would be inappropriate?
To measure for curvature, man. Planet Peterson.
It would be inappropriate to measure for curvature.
That is Planet
That's what
Peterson,
he
man.
said. That's right.
Did somebody say that? Is that
Apparently.
Yeah, Planet Peterson said that.
We
I
cover
said
that
that
tomorrow.
yesterday,
It
man.
sounds. Did you manage to
Yeah,
dig
man.
out any timestamps for it?
I didn't, man. I'm at work. I'm in New York.
Wait. It's inappropriate to measure the curvature of the Earth, said by a
Literally,
glober.
word for word. Word
This
for
is-
word.
This is
It would
somebody
be
responding.
inappropriate to
Chocolate.
measure for
Peterson.
curvature.
This is somebody responding to our newly revised, polished up, front-footed attempt to basically spew to our audience how Earth's measured flat. And the response is, it would be inappropriate to measure it curved.
You think, Nathan, it would be easy if we can prove that the atmospheric conditions just lower the horizon, but not the opposite, never make the horizon appear higher than it can? Because there is a difference between the horizon in a flat surface, like in our reality, and the curve in a ball. The curve, it's if there is no atmospheric condition, it would have to appear lower than the eye level. And in a flat surface, it have to appear in eye level. So in our reality, the atmospheric conditions always just lower the horizon. But in their paradigm, it does the opposite. The atmospheric conditions make the horizon appear higher. So if we prove that the atmospheric conditions just lower the horizon but never do the opposite, because we can't see the horizon above eye level, never ever. If there is some, we can see the sky meeting the earth above eye level, it have to be just an obstruction, a hill,
I don't need
mount
to.
range.
Okay, I appreciate this lovely new false dichotomy that may be set up in terms of us demonstrating or setting out to demonstrate how the horizon behaves. There's no need. Number one, I have no positive claim to make about the horizon. What's that you say? Surely your positive claim is that celestial navigation... No. Celestial navigation is what it is. The fact that celestial navigation is utilising, measuring and mapping and charting and doing all the things that require Earth to be flat is what it is. It's not a claim. It's not something I'm postulating for debate. That's a fact. For everyone. Not just me, not just globe believers. Everyone. So that's not up for discussion. So in that process, celestial navigation, what do we do with the horizon? Oh, what, to save my life if I'm lost at sea? Yeah, you better damn well know how you will practically apply that horizon that you're going to use to save your life if you're going to go out to sea on this boat. So do you know how to save your own life by practically applying this thing we see in the distance and call a horizon? You do, so you might be able to find your way back home if you get lost, using the stars and this system of measuring Earth flat. Good. Now that we know how it's practically applied, do I need to trouble myself with setting up a little false dichotomy about what it may or may not do, given that it's saved countless lives in practical application? No, I don't. I don't need to do anything.
No. We're moving away from that. And I'm sorry, I don't like the term atmospheric. I could be nitpicking, but come on, we're assuming that gas is a sphere. I don't like
Not just, we're also assuming that the horizon's position is a physical location, ignoring the fact that it moves with the weather.
Then say weather.
Your point of resolution
Doesn't
doesn't change its practical application. So maybe you need to go back and listen to the 10th band presentations. Thank God we had him to go through this, because otherwise I wouldn't be able to address that. No, in terms of how it's used, it doesn't make any difference. If you've got a really foggy day and you're out on a boat, yeah, it kind of begs the question how you'd be measuring the stars, but nevertheless, you can still use the sextant to achieve the exact same thing. Wherever that horizon is, if you can see it, you can measure it and establish a horizontal plane of reference with it, regardless of how far or near the point of optical dissolution becomes due to the weather. It is still a point where the ground merges into the sky, and that ground is flat, and that is what you are measuring. What it represents itself as in the distance as a horizon, if one is available, it can and is utilised to establish a horizontal plane of reference. That is its practical use if you have one available. It doesn't matter how far you can see. This notion of it being beyond the oil rigs, how is that in any way changing the surface level? It isn't. So you've got a really clear day and you can see the surface level further out. Yeah, you can. It's still the same surface level. What about when it's really foggy and that surface level optical point that you can see that we call the horizon's quote unquote closer, not higher or lower, closer. You can't see the oil rigs at all now. Yeah, I can still use that horizon to establish a horizontal baseline and find my way at sea with a sextant if I can see the stars. That's what it's used for.
Yeah, you create an artificial horizon.
Your observation of the horizon, regardless if it's near or far, is still on horizontal, meaning left to right. Regardless if it's closer to you or further away from you, doesn't matter. You're still establishing the horizontal That's what it matters.
It is because of what it represents. It's
Surface
representing
level.
your point of dissolution for the ground, which is flat. So this is why Brian, and I'm glad he did, jumped down my throat when I said it wasn't important to labour dip correction. Why are we doing dip correction? To get the angle that's slightly above the flat ground that we're correcting to. We get it back on the flat ground that we're looking at when we look at the horizon. Because what is the horizon? Well, it's the flat ground in the distance, as far as you can see. But that's what we're using. We're using a point that we represent as the ends of where we can see the flat ground. Because that's what's being used. Earth is actually flat, and that is the practical tool that we use to do our measurements and navigate our way around that surface that is flat. So because the ground is flat, we can utilise the horizon as a tool. And because we're not literally with our eyeballs in the water, there's a minor correction to the flat ground that offers us this tool in the form of the horizon. It's because it's flat that we can use it. The ground, that is. What's that you say? Now we're measuring it flat and using it flat and having it have a practical application in terms of the way the world is to find our way around. Because we're doing that with the ground, it isn't the ground.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly, Nathan. And because we know that it is flat, and we use it because we know that the ground is flat. If we don't see the horizon because a foggy day or a pitch black night, for example, it's a pitch black night, you don't see anything. You don't see the horizon, you don't see the surface of water, you don't see anything. So you establish an artificial horizon that is really at eye level. So yeah, you make an artificial one that is copying the real one. If there is no weather and it's clear day, it's no weather conditions, so you will see it at eye level.
Yeah, and you can run that parallel
Yeah,
to the
that's
ground
correct.
at any altitude. And because any level runs parallel with the horizon, that is to say, parallel with the flat ground that you're actually going to be navigating in this instance, you can run that eye level, as you're going to describe it, or laser level, whatever you're going to use, bubble level, because it's parallel with the ground. In all instances, always, everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
because
mariners use a bucket with water or something that contains water, because the surface of that water will remain level regardless of the rocking of the boat.
Yeah,
That's
parallel with the
why
ground.
the mariner, yeah, correct. That's why the mariner needs to rock the sextant to make sure that it's running parallel to it.
Perfect. With that, I'm going to say, if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, though, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. So another massive thank you to today's Discord and G+ panels for making today's live show possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of you for liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, joining as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member, hitting me up on Ko-Fi and Patreon and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!